welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain All of Us Are Dead, Part 2. This movie tells after the zombie virus spreads and infects people. Students who are trying to survive the zombies must then work together to find a way out. Can they survive together while everything is in chaos because of the zombies? Let's find out in All of Us Are Dead Part 2. All of Us Are Dead Part 2 begins by showing a man who is doing a live stream in Yosan City and tells about a zombie outbreak that has invaded the city. The man then told about various equipment that can be used to survive during a zombie outbreak attack, such as safety helmets, axes, and others. As night fell, the man began to be attacked by zombies and tried to save himself while still streaming live. The viewers of his live stream then suggested the man use an axe to kill the zombies that attacked him. At first, the man managed to escape from the zombies' attack and hide in a kindergarten school. But then, his whereabouts were discovered by the kindergarten students who had turned into zombies, so the man had to rush to save himself elsewhere. Chang-san's mother manages to reach Yosan High on foot and avoid the zombies as much as possible after her motorbike breaks down in the middle of the road. She then crept up, trying not to make a fuss that would attract the attention of the zombies. Not knowing that Jong-soo had turned into a zombie, Chang-san's mother then called him. It didn't take long for Jong-soo and the other zombies to know where Chang-san's mother was and attacked the woman, eating her alive. Meanwhile, in the broadcast room of Yosan High School, Soo-hyuk and Dae-soo say that they want to pee, but it's impossible to get out of the room and go to the toilet because zombies are everywhere. Dae-soo proposes that they pee in the window, but the proposal is immediately rejected by his friends, as it is considered embarrassing. On-jo then suggests that they use the audio room as a toilet, since there's no way they'd be able to fight off a swarm of zombies in a state of needing to pee. At the police station, JL gets word of the zombie outbreak attack that invaded Yosan City, where the zombies have managed to destroy the police barricades and are now starting to attack all over the city, including the police station. When JL was about to take Mr. Lee out of there, the zombies had apparently barged into the police station and are now starting to roam the corridors. JL immediately intervened to eradicate the zombies, while Mr. Lee just stood there, silently watching the zombie epidemic that started from the experiment he did to help his son. Feeling responsible for all the chaos that occurred, Mr. Lee then helps JL, who was almost killed by one of the zombies. Mr. Lee then asks JL to immediately go to Yosan High and get his laptop in the science lab room. To make amends, Mr. Lee hopes that the scientists out there will be able to find something that can stop the zombie outbreak's invasion, by using all of his experimental data that causes the zombie virus to spread very quickly. After that, Mr. Lee sacrificed himself so that JL could escape from there. While escaping, JL meets a policeman named Ho Cheol, and they together go to the military headquarters to report about Mr. Lee's laptop, which contains important data about the zombie virus that has spread throughout the city. Back at Yosan High, Hari and a few other students, hiding in the toilet, decide to leave the school and seek help. But before that, Hari sets out to find her younger brother, Woo-jin, who may still be in the school and survive the zombie apocalypse. Having no other choice and relying only on Hari as protection from zombie attacks, Mi-jin and the others agree to help Hari find her little brother. Before they escape outside the school, with her stock of arrows running low, Hari and Min-jae plan to take all the arrows stored in the gym. Knowing that they couldn't keep hiding in the room, Chang-san took the initiative to take the cell phones that were collected in the teacher's room and asked for help by contacting the police. On the other hand, Yoon-ji, who is still on the school roof with Cheol-soo, looks very panicked and angry when he says that previously, Win-nam had forced him to give some money and arranged for Yoon-ji's nude photos and videos to be automatically spread online at certain hours. Yoon-ji then decides to take Win-nam's cell phone that was collected in the teacher's room, to delete the nude video of her, which will be spread soon. By running fast, Yoon-ji manages to dodge the zombie attacks as she descends the stairs and down the school corridor. But when she was about to reach the teacher's room, a horde of zombies ambushed Yoon-ji from various directions, so that the girl was finally caught and bitten by the zombies. Suddenly, a strange thing happened when the zombies stopped attacking and biting Yoon-ji. The zombies then immediately left her just like that. Even though she has been bitten by zombies, Yoon-ji is still able to get up and has consciousness like an ordinary human. The girl rushed into the teacher's room, took out all the cell phones that were there, and then smashed them, without bothering to look which is Gui-nam's cell phone. On the other hand, Chang-san and Soo-hyuk managed to sneak into the teacher's room and see Yoon-ji destroying the students' cell phones. Sneaking around, Chang-san tries to reach a cell phone that has fallen nearby. But as soon as Chang-san takes the phone, Yoon-ji notices it and screams, provoking the arrival of a horde of zombies into the teacher's room. Chang-san and Soo-hyuk were forced to split up to avoid the zombies' attacks, until they were separated and had to save themselves. Chang-san rushed to escape past the zombies swarming in the school corridor, until finally the young man managed to take another cell phone and enter the principal's room. It turns out that in the room, Gwynam is holding the principal and threatening him with a knife. The day before, when zombies attacked the school cafeteria, Gwynam had time to hide and save himself at the expense of his friends. He even had the heart to sacrifice an innocent school canteen officer. That night, Gwynam tries to escape by riding a bicycle, but it turns out that the bicycle is damaged, so Gwynam has to run back into the school building and find a safe hiding place. Armed with a kitchen knife, Gwynam enters the principal's office and manages to kill all the zombies there. After all night struggling to kill the zombies, the exhausted Gwynam is visited by the principal, who has been hiding in his office. The principal asks Gwynam to help him escape in his car, but because Gwynam refused, the principal was angry and threatened Gwynam, until finally Gwynam responded to the principal's threat by holding the man and pointing a sharp knife at him, just as Chang-san went inside to take cover from zombie attack. Seeing the principal being threatened by one of the delinquent students at school, Chang-san then asked Gwynam to stop his actions while filming Gwynam's action and threatened to report Gwynam to the police. At first Gwynam was panicked and scared, but when Chang-san called himself a loser, Gwynam immediately became furious and killed the principal. When Gwynam was about to attack Chang-san, he immediately ran away, resulting in a chase between Chang-san and Gwynam in the midst of the zombie outbreak's invasion at the school. Chang-san then fled to the library, climbed the bookshelf to avoid the zombies, and jumped from one shelf to another to avoid Gwynam's attack, until finally, Gwynam managed to catch Chang-san and they got into a fight on the bookshelf. When Chang-san was pressed, he then injured Gwynam's eye and pushed his body to fall into the crowd of zombies. Even though the zombies bite him, in his rage, Gwynam vows to kill Chang-san in retribution for what he has done to him. After that, Chang-san jumped over the bookshelves and finally managed to get out of the library, then hid inside the ventilator. On the other hand, Hari and her friends managed to reach the medical room and try to find help using the computer device. But apparently, the military and the city government have agreed to cut off telephone and internet networks throughout Yosan City. The military was forced to do this because they found several individuals who had spread hoax news about zombie outbreak attacks for personal gain and triggered panic among residents in other cities. Because the zombies began to arrive, Hari and her friends then rushed to escape from the school's medical room. Elsewhere, Chang-san, who is hiding, tries to call for help using the cell phone he got, but the phone line is blocked. Chang-san immediately felt frustrated and desperate. However, he realized that he couldn't stay there forever, so Chang-san was desperate to get out of his hiding place, past the hordes of zombies that were blocking him in the corridor, until he managed to get into the music room and hide there for a while. Meanwhile, Jae-il and Ho-cheol, who are on their way to the military headquarters, have to face a horde of zombies on the streets, so they are forced to hide in a place that feels quite safe, which is none other than Chingsan Chicken Restaurant. There they find Hee-soo, who has turned into a zombie in a bound state, as well as the baby who has survived. Ho-cheol suggests that Jae-il leave the baby because it's too dangerous to carry it past the zombies. But Jae-il can't bear to leave the baby alone there and decides to take the baby and protect it until they get to a safe place. Elsewhere, So-ju and other firefighters try to save several government officials from the zombie attack that invaded the government building. After battling the zombies, So-ju finally manages to get them to the roof of the building, where a rescue helicopter is ready to land and evacuate them all. Arriving at the quarantine center, So-ju pleads with the military to evacuate the students at Yosan High. However, the military forces still have to struggle to withstand the attacks of the zombie swarms while evacuating the residents who survived in several other areas, so they have not been able to evacuate the Yosan High School area and its surroundings. Meanwhile at school, Soo-hyuk looks like he's back together with his friends. Since An-jo and the others are worried that Chang-san hasn't returned yet, a bespectacled student named Jun-young suggests that they use a drone to locate Chang-san. After getting the drone, Jun-young then flew it throughout the school area and found Chang-san hiding in the music room. Knowing that Chang-san is still alive and is in a safe place, Soo-hyuk reflexively hugs An-jo, which actually causes Namra to feel a little jealous because she secretly likes Soo-hyuk. As Jun-young flies the drone in another direction, Woo-jin notices that one of the zombies has stuck an arrow that he recognizes as an arrow belonging to his older sister, Hari, who is an archery athlete. When they fly the drone in the other direction, they find the zombie plague has spread outside the school and chaos is everywhere. One of the students named Ji-min suddenly cried hysterically when she found her parents' vehicle had an accident on the road, and her parents had now become zombies. On the other hand, Gwynam, who was attacked by zombies, was still able to survive and have consciousness like a human, as experienced by Yoon-ji. After that, The zombies no longer attack him, so Gwynam can walk leisurely in the crowd of zombies and have ambitions to take revenge on Chong-san. The scene then switches and shows the video footage of Mr. Lee, who was explaining about his experiment, where he named the virus as Jonas virus. Mr. Lee explained that the Jonas virus developed immediately after detecting antibodies in the human body, and it turned out that in some cases, the virus managed to evolve to a higher level, where it could study the human mind, like what happened to Yoonji and Gwynam, who have the physical resistance of zombies, but are still able to maintain their consciousness like normal humans. When everyone pensively laments their respective fates, Jimin suddenly wants to jump out the window, trying to kill herself because she feels frustrated after losing her parents and friends in the zombie outbreak that hit Yosan City. Anjo and the others immediately stop Jimin from committing suicide. After Jimin calms down a bit, Anjo tries to encourage Jimin and pleads with the girl not to give up on her life, and promises that they will overcome this obstacle together until the end. In the middle of their chat, Jimin accidentally presses the microphone button, which brings up an idea in Namra's mind. Namra then asks her friends to get together and make a plan so they can all get out of there. After realizing that the zombies are attracted by the noise, Namra intends to use the loudspeaker to distract the zombies, while they will sneak outside and head to the school's roof so that their whereabouts are known by the rescue helicopter that will evacuate them all from the school. Before they play a song from the CD to distract the zombies, Soo-hyuk and Anjo talk to Chong-san over the loudspeaker and ask him to stay where he is. Hearing Anjo's voice over the loudspeaker, Chong-san feels a little relieved and decides to stay in the music room. However, unbeknownst to Chong-san, it turns out that Na-yeon is hiding in the warehouse in the music room filled with canned snacks and drinks. Namra's plan goes smoothly, with the zombies starting to head towards the source of the noise deliberately set away from the road leading to the school's roof. However, there was one zombie still in front of the broadcast room, which seemed unaffected by the loud music. Having no other choice but to get past the zombie, Anjo and the others walk slowly, without making a sound. But then, Junyoung accidentally drops his drink bottle, so the zombies turn around and are about to attack them. Soo-hyuk asks his friends to run away immediately, while he will fight the zombie. When Anjo and the others make their way up the stairs and rush to the music room, Gwynam arrives at the broadcast room to look for Chong-san's whereabouts but finds the room empty. Soo-hyuk, who was pressed by the zombie attack, was suddenly saved by Gwynam, who then asked Soo-hyuk where Chong-san was. Knowing that Gwynam intends to kill Chong-san, Soo-hyuk is reluctant to tell Chong-san's whereabouts, so Gwynam is annoyed and then attacks Soo-hyuk. Soo-hyuk and Gwynam got into a fierce fight, until finally Namra came and helped Soo-hyuk by catching Gwynam from behind. But Gwynam then resisted by biting Namra's hand. Seeing Namra hurt, Soo-hyuk immediately became angry. He immediately got up and pushed Gwynam's body so that he fell from a height. Meanwhile, Anjo and the others managed to reunite with Chong-san, who is in the music room, followed by Soo-hyuk and Namra. However, not long after, a flock of zombies again invaded the music room, so they were trapped again and forced to hide to avoid the zombies' attacks. Meanwhile, at the quarantine center, Soju intends to escape from there to save her daughter, who is still trapped at Yosan High. After incapacitating several military soldiers, Soju then disguises himself as one of them, keeps an eye on the situation in the quarantine center, and looks for access in and out of the place so he can escape from there. Back in the music room, the students are startled by the bite scar on Namra's hand. Chong-san then picks up the music book stand and prepares to attack Namra. However, Soo-hyuk immediately protects Namra and says that the girl was bitten by Gwynam. Chong-san says that Gwynam has become a zombie because he saw with his own eyes when the zombies bit Gwynam in the library. Not wanting her friends to fight, Namra decides to leave there. But Soo-hyuk immediately grabs Namra's hand, preventing her from leaving. Soo-hyuk then takes Namra to the window, still holding her hand, and says that he himself will throw Namra out the window if the girl turns into a zombie. Likewise, Namra intends to commit suicide if she turns into a zombie. On the other hand, Hari and her friends are attacked by zombies, where Jun-sung is bitten and has started showing early symptoms of zombie infection, as well as Namra, who looks so eager to bite Soo-hyuk's neck. When Namra brought her mouth to Soo-hyuk's neck, Chong-san prepared to attack her, but Soo-hyuk reflexively protected Namra. Soo-hyuk and Chong-san were again at loggerheads and fighting, but then Anjo steps up and protects Namra. She asks her friends to observe Namra more closely because Namra is neither bleeding nor injured, which means that the girl is fine. Anjo concludes that Gwynam might have been bitten by a zombie, but not infected. As seen in some zombie films, where there are characters who are immune to the zombie virus, so Anjo assumes that Namra wasn't infected by Gwynam's bite. However, not everyone agrees with Anjo, who wants to protect Namra, one of which is Jimin, who asks Namra to leave immediately. Feeling that her presence will trigger divisions among her friends, Namra decides to leave. But Onjo grabs her hand, preventing her from leaving, because Onjo doesn't want to lose her friends again. Onjo tries to convince them that Namra's hand feels warm, unlike Hyunju and Isak who were infected with the zombie virus earlier. But Jimin still refuses Namra's presence in their group, until finally Soo-hyuk decides to tie the ropes around his hand and Namra's hand, in order to convince his friends not to kick her out. And he risked being the only person Namra would bite if the girl turned into a zombie, which shows that Soo-hyuk really cares about Namra and wants to protect her. After Namra's case is over, Dae-soo and the others then talk about food because they are already starving and haven't eaten anything after the zombie epidemic spreads in the school. Na-yeon, who had been eavesdropping on her friend's conversation from behind the barn door, intends to go out and tell her about the food supplies that are there. However, the girl then gave up after hearing her friends talk about her for deliberately causing Jong-soo to be infected with a zombie virus. Chong-san then remembered that parents were asked to send food supplies before sports competitions, and it was possible that these supplies were stored in the warehouse in the music room. Dae-soo and the others then try to break down the barn door, but Na-yeon turns out to have barricaded the door so they can't open it. Jimin finds a handycam and starts recording herself uttering lines to encourage herself to keep fighting and survive. After Jimin, the other students also do the same, where they convey a message to their respective families who may have survived the zombie outbreak and say to keep fighting and survive. When it was Onjo's turn, the girl delivered a message to her father who had promised to come save her, but never came. At the same time, Soju is trying to escape from the quarantine center. However, the soldiers noticed his actions, so they chased Soju and cornered the man to the edge of the lake. In order to save her daughter, Soju desperately throws himself into the lake, avoiding the soldiers' fire. Even though the man must be injured, Onjo's expression of affection for his father makes Soju willing to be injured and fight to avoid the attacks of the soldiers in order to save her beloved daughter. Part 2 ends with the deep sadness that is felt by Onjo who misses his father.
진짜 사랑해.